welcome to the Chimera cast. This is Gray Griffin. You can call me Luke, here with Dredile.
You can call me Avery.
And today we are reviewing kind of an older mod called Dear Esther. They're actually making a remake of this mod. Dear Esther is described as an award-winning, critically acclaimed experimental first-person game. Built in the Source engine, it abandons traditional gameplay, leaving only a rich world soaked in atmosphere and an abstract, poetic story to explore. Dear Esther was originally launched in 2008 and is currently being rebuilt by
Robert Briscoe.
Watch this space for updates.
Alright, so let's jump into the story, or what we can say it was, because I am personally quite lost as to what exactly the story is, but I know it's a good one. So that's sort of weird, like, you don't really know the story, but you know it's a good one. So I think Luke understood it a bit better, so describe to me exactly what you think the story was.
Okay. Basically, what I gather, the thing that makes this interesting and a cult classic, first of all, let me just go off for a second. The thing that makes this a cult classic is, it makes you think. This is a mod that, unless you're sitting down and you pause a second after the dialogue goes off to think, you're gonna think this is the dumbest mod ever.
Yeah, because I'll say this, the first time I played Dear Esther, I just sort of walked, and I sort of didn't enjoy it that much because I wasn't focusing on what the story could have been and like the visual diagrams and pentagrams. I wasn't focusing on it. But this is the third time I've played it with Luke, and it's just crazy good now. So it's, for some of you, it might take you one or two tries.
But I would suggest playing through at least a couple of times because it is an amazing mod. The story, yes. The thing about the story in Dear Esther is, it's not so much a story as it is a story outline.
Oh.
See, the idea behind it, this kind of story, there's only one game I've ever seen like it, and it's actually a Flash game series called Submachine. These games are very interesting. They have a special place in my heart. They have amazing puzzles, they're click and find. Amazing games. This game didn't have the puzzles, but
It didn't really have anything, when you think about it.
it didn't. But what it lacked in story, it totally made up for in the ideas. See, the entire story writing concept for this thing was, in my opinion anyway, they give you ideas, they drop hooks. You can grab onto whatever hook you want, maybe even more than one. Each of these hooks is a different idea, and as you progress through the story, you develop your idea and either learn things that could discredit your idea or make it so that perhaps it's true. This is the amazing thing about this mod, I think.
Yeah, it's the story is very difficult to understand. The dialogue, you might not even understand what he's saying because the English in which they present it is sort of olden time in a way. It's not like thou or shalt or blah blah, but
It's more like British, like
it's like an early 1900s sort of presentation of this dialogue. So it's hard to understand, but when you pause to think about it, you start to tie in, like as Luke said with these hooks, different pieces of the puzzle of this story, which I personally think is a narrative ghost tale, narrative ghost story about Esther, your wife, possibly, maybe even, who
could be your sister, your wife.
Who knows? You could translate it to your grandma if you want, because it's really left open to you, I think. At least that's how I perceived it, but
because it's you playing, you are the character in this game.
Yeah, it's so, and she died apparently, I think via drunk driving
car crash.
Which you could also translate to whatever you want.
It could have so many meanings if you want it to.
Yeah, it could have been like a bizarre shopping cart accident. Who knows?
But I don't think it could be that, Avery.
Well, yeah, it probably wouldn't be something retarded, but if it made sense somehow, it could have been. You know, you never know. And
All right.
it probably would have had the same effect even if it did. But as you follow you're sort of going through the island, retracing your footsteps you did a long time ago on this place called the Island of Hebrides, I think. Hebrides.
It might not even be. I don't know. What I got from it was the island was your memory and your mind.
Yeah. People have been tying the island to be yourself, like as in you're traveling. Well, you're traveling through different places in the island, and it's triggering these old memories. And you start to talk and stuff about sort of. It's almost what's the word?
Narrative.
Well, yes, it's narrative, but it's. I'm trying to think. It's in the Bible. It's something like. What's it called? When parables. There's a whole bunch of parables in this mod, so it's told through parables, and you're left to hold open to stuff. Like, it doesn't really say exactly what it is, but your mind is left open to just kind of discern your own meanings. So, what else happens?
Well,
story-wise,
I don't know. Honestly, you can discern it however you want. That's the great part about this. If you're willing to get used to his speech and actually shut up and listen for 30 seconds to what this guy, the dialogue, has to say, then go for it. It's an amazing game. If you love story more than you love combat, this is a game for you. If you play mods because you want to get the crap scared out of you or shoot at zombies, don't play this mod. Waste of time for you guys.
It's sort of, as we've said before, that we sort of dubbed as the phrase that we use a lot now in our reviews. It's a cult classic.
Cult classic.
Explain to the viewer what that really is real quick, because I think it's a good description of a mod like this.
A cult classic is basically, it's used to describe some movies like The Princess Bride and stuff like that. It's a mod where, well, anything really, where you either hate it, like there's a group that hates it, but there's a different group that just loves it to pieces, and that group would follow it to Earth End. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can honestly say I am probably one of those that would follow it to Earth End.
I'd say I like it a lot, and I'm not saying that I'd probably
it.
follow it to Earth End. I've really enjoyed it. I think it was a very cool mod, and I have to say that I think also it's sort of an experience. Like, I've also said this before with other mods, that it's sort of an experience-related mod. Like, you play it for the feelings you sort of get while running through these old, like, cyclopean monuments with the music playing that's just calming piano rolls and stuff.
Sometimes it gets kind of haunting.
Yeah, with a grim cave setting, which it eventually morphs into from the foggy top of the island. But
there are also a few things to find if you're willing to go off the well-beaten path.
Yeah, which is awesome, because I knew that there was... I always followed the main route because I saw sand path, and I followed the path of sand, and eventually I found the caves. But Luke was like, I'm gonna go all that way, and he found some pretty cool things, which I thought was really cool that I hadn't seen before. Like this ring of stones and crap, and there was like a whole bunch of new narratives. Like, I think there was at least 3 times where you hit different narratives that normally wouldn't have played if you'd gone on the normal path through the mod.
Yeah.
And it really plays on your emotions, just the way that the visuals present themselves, and the story is just crazy, so that was...
Alright, so...
it was really good.
Overall story score.
I'd rate the story a 9.
I also gave it a 9.
Nice.
I wanted to give it a 10, but 10 is perfection, so...
And generally, it'd have to be really... like, I'd have to, like, die for this mod in order for me to give it a 10. Or any mod. But overall, the story, I really, really think that it was a good story. And it definitely is an experimental story. Like, you don't see a lot of sort of mods that are able to pull this off in the way that Dear Esther did.
There are very, very few things that can.
Yeah, it's definitely well beaten off the path in that sense from traditional mods. Visually, so the visuals in this mod, what do you think of the visuals?
Well, a lot of the time when he's talking, I found myself just standing on top of like the mountain or whatever, because it's very high up, most of it. Detailed, close up, if that's the visuals you're going for, horrible.
Yeah, the graphics for them. Yeah, sorry, I interrupt. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
If you're gonna look at it from the sense of like just the way an island would normally look, which is lush and there's plant life everywhere, the mod lacks in a lot of visual elements such as trees, blah blah blah. There's very scarce, like that's very unnatural. I'm looking at a picture. Hopefully you're looking at one too that describes the look of the mod. But that's not the. I think the visuals, in terms of the way they went about tying in visually with the story, like how they were talking about like parallel lines in the cliff face, and then you'd see the parallel lines. It seems like the geometry of the cliffs and just the rock placement is very thought out in terms of just like how does this tie into the story and what sort of feeling it should present itself in. So there's abandoned huts, there's abandoned sheep things, there's graves in the ground at some points. So in terms of normal graphics, as you look at it from a normal eye, it's not good. But when you think about it in the way that it relates to the story and everything, I think it's really thought out and actually really good in its own sort of way. And it gives off a good mood too. I'm not gonna lie. What do you think?
Well, like I said, whenever he's talking and you're standing on top of a high place or you're in a room filled with like drawings, I just found myself just taking a minute to think and stare at the visuals.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just totally added to the mod. I think the desolate landscape, I don't know, I kind of liked it because it wasn't supposed to be a lush island. In the beginning,
well, definitely not lush. I sort of meant like, I'll revise that. I meant sort of like just plant life. It doesn't matter if it's lush or green and like tropical. Anyways, continue. Sorry, I had to clarify.
Oh, good. Thanks for clarifying. I don't know. I actually very much enjoyed the visuals. You don't see too many mods nowadays that are this open or outside.
Especially in Source.
Especially in Source.
Well, there's the mods out there, but not a lot have been released where it's really sort of left to this really big open vast area for you to walk around and sort of listen to this kind of thing. So, and there's also a really, really big part of the mod visually, which I think I need a little bit of help with. What are these drawings everywhere? What's your interpretation of them? And I'll tell you what I thought of them.
Right. Well, a lot of the time you'd see these drawings on the cave walls or whatever, and it'd be an eye on a leaf attached to what looks like a tree. Now, I honestly wasn't sure how to interpret that, but just thinking about it was fun to me. I just love thinking, alright, now what does this mean? I still haven't figured it out, but I just loved sitting down and thinking, alright, what do these all mean? What is he trying to tell us through these?
I'll say that I'm baffled by them personally. Like, I know that it has some sort of significance for sure, but being me, maybe I'm stupid, or I just don't know what they mean per se. I see different things in these. Like Luke was seeing switch, like electrical. What is it?
Well,
like electrical signs.
I've been
or something?
taking technologies lately, and a lot of the signs he used on the walls and stuff were actually circuits. Like circuits that you draw up, and if you had a job involving circuits, like an electrician, that you'd set up. A lot of the symbols were symbols used in technology.
Yeah. Sorry, we were touching the table, so you might have heard some goof goof. Like a horse. It's not a horse going by, but we were just going like this. Sorry, you heard it again. But the switches especially, I was starting to draw lines with electricity. I was thinking it might relate to the radio tower in some way, because there's a pretty prominent feature that's sort of displayed throughout the mod, which is this big cell phone tower, radio tower, whatever it's for. I don't really know what it's there for. but I think that some of these drawings were relating to it in some way, and it seemed like it was really important because the finale was you getting to it, and stuff happened there, and there's a whole bunch of drawings going up to the radio tower. So it must be really important, but I'm not really sure. So visually, what would you rate the mod?
I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 7. Yep, so I think in its own way, very, very good. In a normal way, not good at all. But when you think about it from the story point of view, it's really, really good. So, the drive in the mod, what would you say made you want to keep going in the mod?
The story, to be honest. I wanted to get the bits. I wanted to get what little bits and pieces I knew he was going to give me to try to figure out what story I was chasing, what story I thought was going on.
Because for me, for some reason, I mean, the story was in that for sure, but for me, I think the reason that I wanted to keep going for some reason was just the atmosphere and the feelings it gave off personally. Like, I just liked feeling the new transitions between different levels, and like
I see
the
what you're
music guided me. Like, if it was a silent mod and there was no fog or sort of like,
oh, it'd be horrible if that were.
I wouldn't want to really keep going as much as I did, because for some reason, especially once I got into the caves and like the cool music started happening, like my heart started going, and I just sort of got like tugged, like this warm feeling for some reason, and I just sort of like started staring at like I almost said icicles, but I know they're called stalactites. I don't even wait, no, never mind, not stalactites. There's no stalactites. I saw the rocks, and I was staring at the rocks. Let's go with that. And I don't know, there's just something about it.
It was
that made me want to keep going.
The music. The entire point of a story that's told this way is the music, the visuals, and the story. That's why this is what we're hitting on. If you don't have any of this, it sucks.
Yeah, they're all interlaced with each other in terms of just, especially in this kind of mod, like Luke was saying, if you want to get the player to continue with his drive to continue playing this, you might really actually want to consider doing good with music and atmosphere.
Music and atmosphere is the entire mod. That's what this is.
Yeah, the story. When you think about
the story, but
the story was really, in some ways, it's not shallow for sure, but the main story, it's hard to understand. So, I mean, I know it's a big part of the mod, but one of the things that makes you want to keep going to understand the story is definitely the music and the atmosphere.
I don't know. How about this? The story was there, but it almost seems like it was there just to add to the music and the atmosphere.
In a way, like the narration and stuff, and the music and the atmosphere, especially it all just sort of went together in sort of like a rope. Like you can take apart the rope and it's 3 strings and tie it together and it's one.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So it's just so in terms of compelling, which is the pacing rating, the way that they went about emotionally tying you in, the compelling rating, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I gave it a 9.
Nice. So we both felt a really good drive to continue through the mod. Maybe even for different reasons. Yours was filling in the blank story-wise. Mine's was, I'm just like, I like the soundtrack. Please give it more to me.
This entire mod is all about you finding your own reason to play it.
Yeah, oh heck yeah, for sure.
That's the entire reason this mod exists. You need to find your own reason to play it. That's what I find fun. This is definitely, dare I say it, this is one of the best mod or games I have ever honestly played.
Very good. So
I know that's a tad extreme, perhaps, but
I'd put it up near Flesh for me, which is another mod that I really like. But almost in a way, it might even, now that I think about it, it could be even surpassing it, which is crazy. In a way, maybe, I don't know.
I don't want to confirm nor deny anything, but I can see what you're saying.
Different parts definitely are better than the others, for sure, but...
Well, anyway, music.
Which is, I think we threw in this rating because the soundtrack was simply just
amazing.
It was, like, really, really freaking good.
like if I were to describe it, most game soundtracks are like hills. How's that? They're pretty good, you know. Get up the hill. Pretty good view, you know. Pretty good view from the hill.
Okay.
But this game soundtrack was more like a mountain. Like the view from a mountain. Like, have you ever gotten to the top of some place really high, like a mountain or something like that? And
about not a month or two ago, last year I hiked to this mountain 10,000 feet high, and I had a really good view.
Yeah, it's like comparing the view from a hill, which is pretty good, to the view from a mountain, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, because it seems sort of, maybe you guys, the viewers, won't agree with me on this one, but it seems like some of the best games of all time always have the greatest soundtracks. Like, I really enjoyed Flesh. I think for the experience of playing it, but the music was just phenomenal in Flesh.
It was.
Same within Dear Esther. So I think that they have some sort of tie-in in that sense. I don't really know how to explain it, but the music really plays on the emotions.
Music can make you feel different ways.
Yeah, like there was
otherwise we wouldn't have bands.
Yeah, for sure. There was two really it seemed two very different music themes in this mod.
Kind of a more haunting, mysterious one, and then
a calmer sort of explorative
still
sense
mysterious.
Of progression, but still mysterious piano roll. So as where one, especially when you got into the caves or near the top of the radio tower, it would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I screwed that up so bad, but it was just, it got really creepy in a way, and very eerie, sort of. And then the other one is just, you're probably hearing it in the background while we're talking in this mod, but it's like, da, 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 da. I keep screwing it up, but,
no, you're good.
So yeah.
The music almost seemed to me, now that I'm thinking about it, the music was part of the story in this situation. Because
it sort of it changed.
It changed to the environment and the situation you were in.
So if it wanted you to feel sort of haunted and in this sort of ghost environment where you sort of maybe even don't want to be, it'd go for this sort of creepy, lackluster, scary kind of music, or where you're exploring a cool segment where there's a shipwreck and you want to look through the parts of the shipwreck and it's playing this sort of explorative piano roll. I think that, yeah, in a way, it definitely arcs in terms of its the way it goes about itself. But also in terms of music, there's something that's really cool, which is the voice actor. I don't know his name,
but it was amazing.
I really liked his voice and the way he would present.
Not even close to the last mod we played, which is called White Knight.
White Knight was a mod for Amnesia with crappy voice acting. And honestly, the voice acting it doesn't seem like it now that I think about it, but it is a really big part of the mod. Otherwise, if it had been a crappy voice actor,
the mod would have been...
It would have gave off a crappy feel.
A lot less.
Yeah, because constantly you're listening to the
voice actor talk, so he's actually a big part of the game.
Yeah, so kudos to the guy. And so the music rating, what would you rate the soundtrack in the mod?
Gave it a 9.
I gave it a 9 as well.
Wow, we seem to be pretty close in this.
Yeah. So it's just nuts. Honestly, I really enjoyed the mod. So what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts? If you love to think and you're willing to accept all its little quirks, play it. You'll love it probably just as much, maybe even more than I do. But like I said, if you're in it for action, anything action related, don't play this mod. This mod doesn't have anything even relating to action. Yeah, so I say, of course, like I think it's an experience related mod where you play it and just come up with your reason to play it, as Luke said earlier, and you'll really enjoy the mod for what it's worth to you, sort of, in a way. You're tailoring it to your sort of way that you want to think about it, and it's just really It's almost
good.
like making your own
almost
jacket. That sounds kind of funny, but just making, like, if say you're a tailor you're making your own jacket. You can make it however you want to make it, but all the same, you still have the same materials and string. You know, the same materials and thread that you use for everything else.
That's pretty good, actually, yeah.
But you can make the jacket any way you want. You could make it a crappy jacket, not sure why you'd want to, or you could make it an amazing jacket.
Yeah, a jacket that means something to you.
This game is... That's a good one. This game is whatever it means to you. How's that?
Yeah. So, the final rating I'd give for Dear Esther... I think I personally am gonna give it a 9.
I'm gonna give it a 9 for a final score as well.
Alright, so we both had a really good time with the mod, and I think there's something now that we can touch on really quick, or however long it takes, but there is a remake of this mod happening at the moment by I think his name is... Okay, hang on one sec. Let me check this, because this is really important. But there's a remake going on right now by a guy named Robert Briscoe. Because Dan Pinchbeck is the guy who made Dear Esther originally. He mapped, I think, for it. He did blah blah. He wrote it. Jessica Curry did the soundtrack, etc. But now he took on a guy named Robert Briscoe who worked on Mirror's Edge. He's a professional game designer. And they're remaking the mod, which is right now really, really astounding looking,
I must
to say the
I
least.
was completely impressed. I just saw the little video, which you're probably watching right now.
Yeah, it's just...
The visuals are intense.
Source is generally not a outdoor eccentric mod. Basically, someone made it. Robert Briscoe actually said a really good quote, if I can remember it correctly. I think he said it's like trying to paint with a chainsaw, making environments like this in Source. It just doesn't really work, but I guess if you work really hard, you can paint with a chainsaw.
I don't know, maybe he didn't paint with a chainsaw. Maybe he painted with more like wire cutters or something. Maybe.
Whatever he painted with, it's... He did a really good job with it. The environmental effects are just crazy. The way the waves work, the way the beaches are, the layers of the mountain, the stalactites, the lighting, everything, just the grunge is just crazy. The foliage moves to the wind. It's just really, really bizarre how cool you can make Source when you really try or have the talent to work with it.
Well, it's this mod, the remake is, this entire mod was all about visuals, music, and the story, so it stands to reason. It already has amazing music.
Yeah.
After you've made a few more soundtracks of the music, visuals are all you have left to work on.
Yeah, because it seems like he went and he wanted to make the story and the feelings work first, and the graphics work later. And he's
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching a video right now where the clouds are moving and just there's slight dust in the wind I can see. And it's just, it seems like now that they've really upped the ante visually. And I'm really excited to play the mod, the game, when it comes out.
It's a long game.
And it seems like it's getting really close because they released news recently, I think even yesterday or today, I don't know when, but that it's entered alpha, which October 18th, like yesterday or something, it's entered alpha, which is a big stepping stone for them, so kudos. Alright, so this has been a Chimera Cast short review on Dear Esther. My name is Avery Fisk, or Dredile as I go by online. I do a whole bunch of modding, working on a mod right now called Crypt. You can follow me on Twitter at Dredile, and introduce yourself.
I am Luke. That's all you need to know. Also known as Grey Griffin. You can find me on Steam. And yeah.
As am I. I'm on Steam as well. But if you have any questions or
email us.
Yeah, questions about modding or maybe a review that you'd like to see, possibly email us at chimeracastfans@gmail.com.
Send us mod suggestions, whatever.
Questions you might want answered on the show. Well, if it's a good email, we'll read it off on the show. So right now we haven't really released any of these. So this will probably be our last one where we don't have an email, hopefully. So next episode we should be reviewing while reading off 1 or 2 emails. So anyways,
Hopefully.
thanks for tuning in.
This is signing out, the Chimera Cast. Remember, Elmo loves you.
Who does? Elmo. Screw Elmo. Bye.